The Great Wall of China is a feat of engineering unequaled anywhere in the world at any time. It is a story that spans more than 3,000 years of human technology. The history of a nation is told in the battlements and ruins that stretch for more than an incredible 4,500 miles from the mountains of Korea to the inhospitable wastes of the Gobi Desert, the same distance as flying from Miami to the North Pole. Hidden in this immense structure is the bloody history of the Chinese nation. A nation made possible only by the technological prowess and staggering manpower that offered its rulers the means to build the ultimate defense. A border wall that overcame both China's enemies and nature itself. From 700 BC, China was a collection of separate warring states, constantly at battle, vying for each other's kingdoms. After nearly 500 years of turmoil, there remained only two powerful kingdoms that were destined to meet in a final battle. The victor would reap the greatest prize, the richest and most technologically advanced nation in the world. When the state of Qin ambushed and defeated the Chu army in 226 BC, Qin Shi Huang became the first emperor of a unified China. But this new superpower now faced a tougher enemy, the nomadic Xiongnu of the north.
The Great Wall was built fundamentally to protect the northern and the western frontiers against marauding bands of horsemen that would come riding in and hit the villages and along the frontier and take livestock, take the people out. Light cavalry, if you would prefer.
China's border with the Xiongnu ran along the northernmost lines of arable farmland. Here, the Chinese were beginning to develop into an agricultural society. The Xiongnu, however, came from the northern wastes. They were forced to be wandering nomads. It was a clash of cultures, settled Chinese farmers versus Xiongnu warriors. Qin Shi Huang knew that the Xiongnu would be difficult to defeat, even for his battle-hardened army. The stability and prosperity of the new empire was threatened by these marauding hordes. preserve China's borders, Qin Shi Huang set about building a huge defensive barrier in 221 BC. Wall building became the essential military strategy to repel the Xiongnu.
Wall building started before the age of gunpowder, before the age of the cannon. It was a way to, in fact, stop your enemy, cause your enemy to present themselves as a standing target, either below you or in front of you, rather than a fleeting target riding along on horseback. So the entire purpose of wall building was to, in fact, stop the advance, the maneuver of your enemy and put them in a position where they were easily engaged.
Qin Shi Huang's Great Wall, the first Great Wall, was the most ambitious engineering project of ancient times.
The Great Wall is built of earth and stone, much as the ancient pyramids in Egypt are built in earth and stone. But the scale of the Great Wall of China is so very different. In the pyramids, we think of those teams of slaves dragging stones up and laying them one after the other, and we think of that as an enormous effort. The Great Wall of China is perhaps 30 pyramids, 30 great pyramids, thousands of miles long. The level of effort to build the Great Wall of China is just far greater than anything that the ancient Egyptians ever achieved. It's an extraordinary achievement.
To build this 3,000-mile-long fixed defense, the emperor selected his most able general, Meng Tian. He was given an army of more than 300,000 men. These soldiers fought barbarians, built supply roads, and constructed the wall itself. The early wall builders had no choice but to use local materials. Most of the Qin Great Wall was constructed from beaten clay. These men are using the same methods to restore a section of the wall. Stone was not always available, so tamped earth became the first choice of building material. The builders here carefully select earth from at least 4 inches below the surface so that it does not contain seeds or grasses which could germinate and undermine the strength of the structure. Teams of men then pound the earth into 4-inch thick layers which are built up to the final height, in this case 20 feet. Although the tamped earth wall is very simple, this process produced a structure so strong that many sections are still standing 2,000 years after their construction. The route of the Qin Great Wall stretched from Mount Jeshi in today's North Korea to Lintao in western China. In just 10 years, they had built a wall along the entire northern border. The terrain traversed by the wall included marshes, quicksand, desert, and altitudes of 8,000 feet above sea level.
The big difference between building a single structure and building a wall is that a single structure stays in the same place. They constructed 3,000 miles in just 10 years. That's 25 miles a month. That's nearly a mile a day. Quite extraordinary.
This rare section of the Qin Great Wall in Inner Mongolia was constructed entirely out of local stone. Built 2,200 years ago, it snakes across the Yinshan Mountains for 60 miles. In this reconstruction project, archaeologists and builders are restoring the wall to its height before a severe earthquake struck in 1996. The tremor, which recorded 6.5 on the Richter scale, nearly wiped out some of the last remains of the Qin Wall. The rocks used in the wall are prized out of the mountainside. Long lines of men pass the rocks to a skilled mason, who places the stones with their flat sides facing outwards, presenting the sheerest face possible to an advancing enemy. These large rocks are then locked with smaller fragments filling the gaps. The most remarkable feature of this dry stone wall is that Qin builders pushed this simple technology to its limit. Had they built the wall any higher, it would have turned in on itself and collapsed. Although much of this defense has now been lost, here we can see how the wall dominated the landscape. The ruins of this dry stone wall are now about 8 feet tall. In its heyday, it was 20 feet high, with 26-foot-high beacon towers. These sections were deliberately constructed below the top of the hill. If the Qin soldiers had to retreat, they would still hold the higher ground, from where they could launch counterattacks.
Once the wall was there, it could cause the emperor to implement that principle of war called economy of force. Economy of force says that you take your forces and you use a minimum force in one location in order to build a larger force in a more important location. Well, once the wall was there, the emperor had the ability to do that.
The wall also gave Qin Shi Huang other military advantages against his enemy, the Xiongnu. Their cavalry was still a formidable threat. They were highly mobile and could select weak sections of the wall to attack. And so the Qin army invented new weapons to exploit the advantages of the wall. The most deadly of these weapons was the crossbow. This instrument of death could fire arrows more than 250 yards with amazing accuracy. The Qin also developed iron casting techniques, which produced the world's first iron sword. This technology was not available in the West until after the 12th century, 1,300 years later. The soft bronze swords used by their opponents were no match for the double-edged iron weapon which the Qin had developed. But keeping out the Xiongnu was only achieved with tremendous economic and human costs. The Qin Great Wall was such a large project that few other human endeavors will ever equal it. Qin Shi Huang imagined the wall would bring peace to China. In reality, the Qin dynasty was weakened by the heavy cost of the construction. The Qin legal system sentenced criminals and intellectuals who clashed with the emperor to the punishment known as Chengdan, or wall faces, 4 years hard labor, and the horrific branding of the prisoner's slave status on his forehead. For the slaves, conscripts, and prisoners who labored on the wall, life was unbearable. The ancient historical work, the Huainanzi, or Principles of the World, recounts that ditches on the roadside were filled with the corpses of men who had been forced into the construction of the Great Wall. Taxation became heavier and heavier, while the term of service was endless. Many believe that the wall is full of the remains of the dead. But the deputy director of the Chinese Great Wall Society, one of the world's leading authorities, disagrees.
To discover whether the bodies were interred in the actual wall or buried nearby, we investigated many sections. We found no bodies in the wall, but the remains we did unearth were all buried nearby. This shows that the workers were buried near the Great Wall and not added to the filler as legend has it. There is a logical reason for this. the bodies will decay and affect the stability of the wall.
Modern scholars estimate that the death toll for the Qin Great Wall was in excess of 1 million people. No society could sustain such a terrible burden.
What do you know about the real Ice Age? The Discovery Channel looks at the new film, Ice Age, as Ray Romano reveals the real beasts of the Ice Age. Wednesday at 8 on the Discovery Channel.
This I gotta see.
You know, when I was a young man, riding a Harley-Davidson motorcycle, oh, that was all I could think of. I mean, that open road, that rumbling engine, the wind in my face.
Oh, Grandpa, you ride a Harley?
No, I never got it. I spent the money on aluminum siding instead.
Let's go see what Grandma's doing.
Heartburn? Give me a cold one.
Introducing Tums Cool Relief with Freva crystals for an immediate cooling, soothing sensation and fast heartburn relief. New Tums Cool Relief with calcium.
Introducing the totally transformed 2003 Corolla. It just wants to have fun.
With document distribution from Canon, you can send a document to different locations instantly. Print it in one office, email it to another, and send volumes somewhere else. All at the same time. Hey, welcome to the new office. It's Business Accelerated.
Hello, I'm Nigel Marvin. For 20 years, I've travelled the world as a zoologist and filmmaker. Now share my most amazing adventures.
Saturday.
That's the biggest gaboon viper that I have ever seen.
Nigel goes in pursuit of lethal snakes.
It can follow the prey like a heat-seeking missile.
Slither along in their venomous world and discover the intoxicating nature of these deadly vipers. Nigel's Wild Wild World, Saturday at 8 Eastern and Pacific, only on the Discovery Channel.
People want to win. Now you get your head back in the game or sit down. They want those national championship banners. Everybody's playing their own game out there. Don't you kids get it?
The first original motion picture from ESPN.
Playing my game is what got you here.
Brian Dennehy is Bobby Knight.
I had to sit around for a year with a losing record. I'm not going to let you people do that to me.
A season on the brink. Premieres tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Viewer discretion is strongly advised.
It's Macy's Super Weekend Sale today with 25 to 50% savings store-wide. Plus, use your Macy's card and take an extra 15% off sale and clearance prices. Or take an extra 10% off home, shoes, men's jackets, suits, and sport coats. All day, every time you use your Macy's card. Exclusions apply. Take an extra 15% off sale and clearance prices every time you use your Macy's card. Today, during Macy's Super Weekend Sale.
The Great Wall Society estimates that for every person building the Qin Great Wall, a further 6 were needed as support to provide building materials and supplies. This means that an incredible 3.5 million people, or 70% of the 5 million population of China at that time, would have been involved in building the Qin Great Wall. The construction of the Qin Wall became the most hated imperial project in China's history. In 209 BC, only a year after Emperor Qin Shi Huang had died, millions of peasants rose up to end the tyranny and bloodshed of wall building. The Qin dynasty had fallen, brought down by the building of the Great Wall. Within 10 years, the Qin Wall was a neglected ruin. Once again, the northern border was at the mercy of the Xiongnu. These descendants of Xiongnu tribesmen are showing just some of the cavalry skills that were demanded from a warrior. To keep horsemen like these out, the next dynasty would have to build an even stronger wall. After 3 years of bloody civil war, the first Han Dynasty emperor, Gao Di, came to power in 206 BC. At first, he attempted to appease the Xiongnu with gifts and increased trade. But peace on the border proved to be sporadic. The Han leaders launched a massive assault against the Xiongnu, forcing the nomads north. To consolidate these victories, the Han set about marking out the new extended border of China. In many areas, they simply restored the Qin Wall. But in the deserts of the northwest, they had to build on a landscape so barren that new methods of wall construction had to be devised. The remains of the wall in the western desert reveal the ingenuity of its builders. Here, the local earth is a very poor quality gravel, a grit made up of sand and stones. The internal construction of gravel and twigs is still clearly visible.
This part of the Great Wall is unique. The method and materials used to construct it are very different from those used in mountains and lowland regions. Even though it has had to withstand attack of the wind and the sun for more than 2,000 years, it has maintained its majestic appearance, which we can still enjoy today.
In the Gobi Desert, red willow is one of the few plants to survive the intense heat of summer and temperatures which can fall as low as minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit in winter. Here, local farmers are demonstrating how they have built walls in this wilderness for thousands of years. The farmers painstakingly build the wall up layer by layer. A frame is held in place by pegs. Then, grit and water are mixed and thrown on top of the reeds and willow twigs. The red willow is used to strengthen the layers of gravel in the same way that builders today suspend steel rods in concrete to strengthen and stabilize modern structures. The edges are hammered with hand tools, and then the layer is tamped until the gravel, reeds, and red willow form a compact strata of the wall. This tamping process on a wall this size can take up to an hour for each layer. Finally, when the wall is complete, the frame is removed. This small 5-foot-high wall took 6 people 2 days to build. Using these techniques, and hundreds of thousands of men, the Han were able to build the wall far into the desert. An oily clay was used as a skim or coating. This not only made the wall difficult to scale, but also preserved the wall against weather erosion. But the Han emperors realized that to have a strong northern frontier, they not only needed to build an immense wall, they also needed to train crack troops to defend it. Mounted squadrons were established. They wore light armor and could race in and out of hostile territory, checking enemy movements. They had many victories against the Xiongnu. To support these troops, horse breeding stations were set up all along the wall. The Han employed renegade Xiongnu horse masters to breed the horses and drill the troops. By the time the 6th Han Emperor, Wu Di, came to power 66 years later, the Xiongnu had been crushed, and the wall had been extended by 300 miles, far into the Gobi Desert.
If you look at the Han Dynasty and the function of the wall at that time, first of all, they extended the wall out into the Gobi Desert. They extended the wall across many principal trading routes, okay, with the West. And obviously the only way you were going to go into China was through the gates in the wall. So those gates really became, and the towns where these gates were located, really became centers of commerce. In many cases, people were not allowed to go beyond those gates, and therefore the trading function all took place at those particular gates. They were really the portals of trade into China.
A perfect example of the wall's trading function is found at the beautifully preserved ruin at Yumenguan, or Jade Gate. A thriving market was established, which traded in jade, camels, horses, gold, spices, silks, wool, and precious stones. Built in 101 BC, this fort was 28 feet high and 66 feet square. Here we can see how archaeologists believe the fort was designed. It shows how the Han Dynasty protected vulnerable mountain passes. The inner stronghold was protected by an outer wall. Another wall traversed the entire length of the pass and connected to the Great Wall, 3 miles away. This section of the wall accumulated tremendous wealth, and the town that grew up around it became known as Hichangcheng, or Peace and Prosperity. In this massive warehouse built entirely from mud and red willow, the Chinese stored weapons, uniforms, and horse supplies for their armies guarding the wall. It is 453 feet long, 115 feet wide, and 23 feet high. This building is well preserved because the atmosphere in the Gobi Desert is very dry. The total rainfall rarely exceeds a few hundredths of an inch each year. The holes in the side of the structure reveal the position of the original doors and windows, but the strong desert winds have eroded them into large cavities. But the Han Wall became more than just a trade route and a barrier to keep out enemies. It became vital for communication. Along its ramparts, messages could be sent from one end of the empire to the other with amazing speed. All along the northern border, beacon towers were built every 15 to 30 miles. They formed a communications network which ran from outposts deep in enemy territory all the way back to the ancient capital, Chang'an. From these towers, the Han troops used smoke by day and torches by night to send messages along the wall. They burned wood and straw mixed with wolf dung, which produced thick black columns of smoke. The code of these signals was strictly governed by Han statutes. One column of smoke indicated that the wall was about to be attacked by a force of less than 500. 2 columns indicated an attacking force of less than 3,000, and 4 columns indicated an attacking force of up to 10,000. To verify the speed of the smoke signals, the Great Wall Society recreated an ancient Han experiment. They pitted the beacon towers against a messenger on horseback, and to bring the experiment right up to date, they added an all-terrain vehicle to the race. The course was 15 beacon towers long, a distance of 53 miles, crossing mountains, lakes, and dirt tracks. The result is not even close. 2,000 years on, the smoke still beats the horse messenger, and now the Jeep as well.
For as long as man has gone to sea, there have been terrible tales of sea monsters. But this one is true. Chasing giants on the trail of the giant squid. Tomorrow at 9 Eastern and Pacific on the Discovery Channel.
I know the restaurant business. I do not know insurance.
Our business has grown. My children have grown. We figured this would be a good time to reevaluate everything. Our Prudential agent made it easy.
She explained it to me in such a way that I felt totally comfortable. It's all on one piece of paper. You can see right where you stand.
You're going to walk away with peace of mind.
Why didn't I do this years ago?
Call 1-800-THE-ROCK for your free life insurance needs analysis from Prudential Financial.
For the first time on network television, uncut with limited commercial interruptions, a special USA movie event.
All right!
Adam Sandler is Big Daddy.
I wet my bed.
No! Will somebody get the kid a Happy Meal?
You like that, huh? You think that's funny?
Big Daddy premieres Sunday, March 17th at 7, 6 Central.
You guys wear the same size t-shirt.
On USA.
It is I, Jonathan Carter. I have breached the outer doors of the pyramid. I discovered hieroglyphics, but have little time for them. Instead, I spend hour upon hour rigorously studying a secret spring. At the end of the day, I discover a pharaoh's chamber. I shan't dally here, though, for there is much more to discover.
Luxor, Las Vegas. Discover its secrets by calling 1-800-288-1000.
Forget everything you think you know about slipcovers. At SureFit Slipcovers by Mail, we've rewritten the book on them. A whole new catalog of incredible slip-on coverings. Don't spend a fortune replacing your furniture. Now you can fall in love with it all over again. With a patented one-piece, easy-to-apply slipcovers from SureFit. Whether it's sectionals, sofa beds, leather furniture, or oversized chairs, SureFit slipcovers go on easy, look beautiful, and they stay in place. Best of all, they're priced to fit any budget. So call our toll-free number right now, and we'll rush you our free catalog. It's filled with patterns, textures, and colors, all designed with you in mind.
For your free SureFit catalog, call 1-800-356-4646 or visit our website at www.surefit.com. That's 1-800-356-4646. Call now.
China waited another 1,300 years before it embarked on its greatest period of wall building. Much of what remains today was built by the Ming Empire. They were driven by desperation to build the ultimate defense and lock the northern frontier once and for all. The Ming renovated the old Qin and Han walls and extended them. The Ming Wall stretched nearly 4,500 miles from the Korean border at Dandong to the fort of Jiahuguan in the western desert. Even today, this fort remains one of the most impressive, ornate, and sophisticated military constructions in the history of China. The Ming dynasty came to power in 1368, inheriting a nation crushed by 100 years of rule by the Mongols. The mighty Genghis Khan had united these tribes in 1206 and then led their push through China. But ultimately they fell from within, a peasant rebellion spelling the end of the Mongol Empire. The leader of this revolt, Zhu Yuanzhang, was installed as the first Ming emperor. He immediately took up the challenge to begin building the Great Defense again. The enthusiasm with which the Ming emperors embraced this ambition was staggering. They built more wall than any other dynasty.
When you look at the Ming Wall, the thing that impresses you most of all is how huge that wall is, how huge the citadels were. I mean, the towers along that wall. One can only speculate as to why they had to be so big. This may have been a signal to attacking forces. Okay, look at what we are capable of doing. Look at this huge wall we are capable of putting up. Look at these huge fortresses we are capable of building. That's the strength. That's what China is. You take us on, this is what you're going to have to take on. So maybe it had a psychological value also.
This section of the wall at Gubeko reveals the grand scale of Ming military planning. Snaking across the mountains, this stretch of wall protected the agriculture of the fertile Beijing plain against invasion by the Mongols. The Gubeko Wall is located in the Chobai River Valley, along which ran a major trading route. The wall spanned the river with 3 arches, and water was dammed up to irrigate local fields. The water gates were swept away in floods several centuries ago, but with the aid of modern technology, we can see how they worked. Built on a solid stone and gravel foundation, wooden coffering provided the exterior support, while alternate layers of clay and rice straw blocked the water flow. The Ming Wall was built typically with a brick facing, which here has been stripped away, revealing the tamped inner clay structure. Here we can see the different layers of construction that make up its whole. On top of a stone foundation, an inner skin of brickwork covers a core of compacted rubble and clay. An outer skin of more substantial brickwork strengthens this even further. The defensive details, ramparts, steps, and towers are built on top of this 3-layered base.
These walls are sloping on the outside, and that's because they need to hold back the pressure of the earth inside, which is trying to burst them outwards. But they would compact the earth fill inside, just as they did for the Han Wall. And the great strength of the stone wall on the outside would mean that it was not only an imposing structure, but really almost indestructible.
Even in their unrestored state, these walls are impressive. The Ming's fear of invasion made them drive their techniques to the limit and to build the seemingly impossible. Here at Simitai, the wall is a staggering feat of engineering. This section ascends razor-sharp mountain ridges that climb at an angle of 70 degrees, 7,000 feet above sea level. In places, the walkway is no more than 20 inches wide, with sheer drops on either side. Not surprisingly, the wall here is completely unrestored. These triumphs of Ming engineering were only made possible by innovative structural techniques.
Many of the sections of the Great Wall built with stone or brick during the Ming Dynasty climbed the gradients of more than 45 degrees. They are still stable and intact after more than 400 years, surviving many earthquakes and erosion by wind and rain. These sections are regarded as a miracle of mechanics. The principle of this miracle is that each brick and every piece of stone is a plane by itself, and the vertical pressure on these planes forms a stable triangle with a slope underneath. If we view the analysis, the entire wall is a massive triangle composed of many small triangles. Therefore, it's very solid.
Unless the gradient exceeded 45 degrees, bricks were laid parallel to the slope, hugging the contours of the mountains. This was a convenience to speed up the building of the wall and avoid having to cut bricks to fit into the construction. But this technique was only possible with incredibly strong brickwork. The bricks they used were not like modern-day bricks. We decided to put a copy of a Ming Dynasty brick to the test. Incredibly, this brick performed as well as a modern concrete block. Both fracture at around 320 kilonewtons, equivalent to a stress of about 1,000 pounds per square inch. At a time when European builders were still relying on cut stone, Chinese engineers had developed the technology to mass produce the strongest and most reliable bricks in the world. Amazingly, these bricks are still made today in the same kilns.
Cancel my Eco Challenge ticket, cancel my Yucatec ticket. I'm not running across the desert. I'm done.
There's only one World Championship adventure race, and this is it.
I've never experienced anything quite like that in an adventure race.
I aim for some excellent suffering this time.
The Discovery Channel World Championship Adventure Race begins next Sunday at 9 Eastern and Pacific.
This is not adventure race, this is survival race.
Bonnie's toothpaste stopped fighting plaque before her first cup of coffee. Clark's won't make it past his donut. You see, most toothpaste can't fight plaque after you eat or drink, when teeth become more vulnerable to bacteria. But Colgate Total is different. Its patented combination of ingredients attached to teeth to protect for 12 hours, even after eating and drinking. Isn't it nice to know you use Colgate Total? Colgate Total, 12-hour protection.
For the first time on network television, uncut with limited commercial interruptions, a special USA movie event.
All right!
Adam Sandler is Big Daddy.
I wet my bed.
No! Will somebody get you to the Happy Meal?
You like that, huh? You think that's funny?
Big Daddy premieres Sunday, March 17th at 7, 6 Central.
You guys wear the same size T-shirt.
On USA.
Who cares?
The men have taken a break from the festivities to bond and show support for their newly committed brother.
Hey, married man, we saved you a rock.
What, you give you a hall pass or what?
I didn't know they made leashes that long.
What's it like to wear jewelry?
This all that?
And thus the groom maintains his status among the pack.
Rolling Rock beer. Grab a rock.
This Friday,
Prepare for the Ice Age!
check this out. Ray Romano.
Hey, look at that. Dinner and a show.
John Leguizamo.
I actually thought you were going to eat me.
Dennis Leary.
I don't eat junk food.
And Scrag.
Doing it for attention. Just ignore him.
Ice Age is absolutely hilarious.
You have a very cool sense of humor.
It's funny and original with a look all its own.
An excellent point.
Will you cut it out?
If you love Shrek and Monsters, Inc., you'll love Ice Age. Rated PG.
This I gotta see.
Friday, only in theaters.
But before you see the movie, spend 2 nights with the Discovery Channel and Animal Planet for a deeper look at the Ice Age. First, travel back in time as the Discovery Channel reveals the real-life creatures that inspired the film. Then, don't miss Animal Planet's Night of Mammoth Fun. It's the planet's funniest animals, filled with sneak peeks, interviews, and more. It's a 2-network, 2-night event, hosted by Ray Romano, both at 8 on the Discovery Channel and Animal Planet.
This I gotta see.
Every day, a new journey begins.
What are you going to show us today?
A new adventure in living well and feeling great.
Might be just what the doctor ordered.
Stuck in procrastination mode? Just do it. Explore knee replacement surgery, help for female hair loss, and finally organizing your photos. Seeking Solutions with Suzanne. Every day. 3 times a day on CNN Headline News. Tonight on the Discovery Channel.
First, deadly shipwrecks and dangerous salvage missions. Then inside the deadliest job in the world, and later plunge into the raging waters of the storm.
But it was not only the bricks that were unique. The mortar, which locked the bricks in place, was very resistant to erosion. But how it worked has been a mystery for modern archaeologists. Here we can see the bricks have actually eroded faster than the mortar. This mortar has proved to be very resistant to acid rain. The puzzle of this super-strength mortar has now been solved. The mystery ingredient was rice flour. Here we see archaeologists reproducing the mixture in the field at a restoration project. With innovations like these, the Ming Dynasty was able to build spectacular monuments. The wall at Jinshanling provides some of the most spectacular views of the Great Wall. Clues to the intricate construction lie among these ruins. A drainage system carried water away from the enemy side of the wall, depriving the slopes of water and inhibiting the growth of plants that would give cover to attackers. Warning towers were built in enemy territory. These spurs, built out from the main wall, permitted the defending Chinese to attack marauders from two sides. This impressive two-story building was the central command from which the famous General Chichiguang oversaw the defense of Beijing. The armies were controlled from watchtowers, built every 200 yards along the Ming Wall. In some of the towers, the soldiers slept along one side on heated stone platforms. The platforms themselves were kept warm throughout the night by a coal fire stoked through holes on the outside of the tower. Locks and bolts secured the doors and windows from within, creating a formidable fortress. From the safety of its battlements, defenders unleashed arrows and spears through heavily protected slits. Later, cannon were also used. Having discovered gunpowder, the Ming were also the first to develop the hand grenade and mines. These exploding pots could throw lethal fired clay and metal shrapnel, killing anyone in their path. Once at the foot of the wall, attackers were bombarded with stones pushed through specially designed openings, which would then cascade down the side of the mountains, a man-made avalanche. If the marauders survived this onslaught, they would then have to fight hand-to-hand along the wall itself. Here again, every effort was made to make their advance impossible. A series of buttresses built across the width of the wall's walkway enabled the defenders to retreat from one stronghold to another, the retreating troops receiving covering fire from above. The defenders could then flee to the heavily protected guard towers. Built 20 feet above the wall's walkway, these towers were only accessible by retractable ladders. With the ladders withdrawn, the guard towers are virtually impregnable. Unsurprisingly, the wall at Jinshanling was only breached 15 times in its 300-year existence. An attacking force never held it.
Searched to see if it even existed. It does. Now, for the first time anywhere, the Discovery Channel reveals a legendary sea creature alive. Tomorrow, see what no one has seen, find out what no one has known, and witness an unprecedented scientific achievement. The capture of Architeuthis, giant squid. Chasing Giants, tomorrow at 9 Eastern and Pacific, on the Discovery Channel.
Introducing the totally transformed 2003 Corolla. With more room than ever before, it just wants to have fun.
People want to win. And we don't get there with milk and cookies.
On Sunday, March 10th.
I've never had a team play scared. What the hell are you scared of?
The first original motion picture from ESPN.
I had to sit around for a year with a losing record? I'm not going to let you people do that to me.
Brian Dennehy is Bobby Knight.
Don't you kids get it? Playing my game is what got you here.
A season on the brink. Sunday, March 10th, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Viewer discretion is strongly advised.
Heartburn? Give me a cold one.
Introducing Tums Cool Relief with Freva crystals for an immediate cooling, soothing sensation and fast heartburn relief. New Tums Cool Relief with calcium.
There's something of Ireland in all of us. The music, the poetry, the warmth of that Emerald Isle where my mother was born. The soft words of my mother's songs and the soft mists keep calling me back. There's never been a better time to visit. Come with me to Ireland.
1 week vacation from $499, including airfare, accommodation, and rental car. For your free travel kit, call 1-800-SHAMROCK or visit shamrock.org.
Today at IBM.com, we're talking about the things on the go a business person needs to keep everything running like a top. Like this little beauty right here. It is the perfect carry-on. In fact, the award-winning IBM ThinkPad R series is so well suited to business travelers, I got my buddy Captain Frank, a real-life pilot, to tell us more.
Folks, this is your captain speaking. On the left of the ThinkPad R series, you'll see 2 USB ports, and over on the right, a nifty built-in modem. We have a great multimedia machine here, folks, with CD-ROM, stereo speakers, 13.3-inch TFT display. This is a genuine IBM, folks. Intel Celeron processor, 900 megahertz, 128 megs of RAM, Windows XP, 10 gigs of disk space, $10.99. Plus, folks, you're going first class. Buy this R series with an Intel Celeron processor today, and we can ship it out free.
Thanks, Captain.
We know you have your choice of computers, so we thank you for choosing IBM.
That is one bad-looking outfit.
Tonight on the Discovery Channel.
First, deadly shipwrecks and dangerous salvage missions, then inside the deadliest job in the world, and later plunge into the raging waters of the storm.
Jiayuguan, the fort at the western end of the Ming Wall, is spectacular. The fort was strategically placed to protect the Chinese end of the Silk Road. This trade route connected the ancient civilizations of Egypt, Rome, and China, and all traffic passed through this hub. Since its construction in 1372, it has stood alone in the desert, a potent symbol of the distant power and wealth of Beijing. An inscription on top of the main gate boldly declares it to be the most magnificent pass of the empire. Yi Kaijian, China's most famous architect, was commissioned to build the Jiayuguan fort. When he ordered the exact number of bricks he planned to use, the army questioned his judgment. The architect jokingly added 1 extra brick to his requisition order to satisfy the army that he had a contingency plan. The solitary brick was never used and is still displayed outside the western gate tower of Jiayuguan. But the architect also remembered that the Great Wall was built to defend the nation. Merchants approaching the fort had to travel through a series of defenses designed to prevent enemies taking this vital trading post. Stretching away from the fort, the wall divides the pass, and 5 miles away is one of the Great Wall's most magnificent sights.
This is the starting point for the main Great Wall, the #1 beacon tower. It's strategically placed with a canyon to the west and high mountains to the north and south.
From this, its most westerly point, the Ming Wall snakes 4,500 miles east, as far as today's North Korea. But today, modern science is discovering that the Ming Great Wall is even longer than once thought. By looking at new satellite data, physicists at the Beijing Institute for Remote Sensing have revealed lost sections of the wall. This radar image of a region in Inner Mongolia is taken from 120 miles above the Earth. First, the Beijing scientists found 2 stretches of Ming Wall. The second stretch was built 100 years after the desert buried the first wall. And between this highway, the green line on the image, and the second wall, they discovered an even older wall, built 1,000 years ago. Using these methods, more than 600 miles of the Great Wall have been rediscovered in the last 10 years. As satellite surveys discover more stretches of the Great Wall, scientists expect that the current length of 4,500 miles will have to be recalculated. But having built the longest of the Great Walls, the Ming Dynasty began to struggle with the overwhelming costs of its construction. By the beginning of the 17th century, corruption and hatred swept the empire. Even the Great Wall could not protect a nation disintegrating from within. In 1644, the Ming Dynasty eventually collapsed. The Great Wall became redundant as another northern tribe, the Manchu, filled the power vacuum. The Great Wall defined China for more than 2,000 years, but ultimately, the costs were immense.
The cost of rebuilding the Ming Wall today in its entirety might be something like $380 billion. That's a huge sum. You could compare it to the $360 billion that's been spent on the interstate highway network in the United States in the last 40 years.
And the human costs were huge. If ancient Chinese histories are accurate, then we can estimate that 1 man has died for every yard of wall built, nearly 8 million. Today we can question whether such a price was worth it. But modern-day China exists largely because of the stability offered by the wall. The Great Wall is unquestionably a technological marvel, but it is also a powerful military symbol. Those living outside it and within it are in no doubt as to its meaning. Invade at your own risk. Rebel, and you will be overcome.
To purchase a home video of the program you just saw,